Hey folks, I haven't done a Magic video in quite a while, but I just got this VELOCI-RAMP-TOR deck from Lost Caverns of Ixalan, and it's really fun out of the box, but I just wanted to make a video on upgrading because I thought that would be kind of interesting and fun. So the first thing I want to mention is whenever I'm upgrading just like a deck or a pre-con that I get, I don't immediately go look for deck lists. I like to just go through the rares that I have and see if there's pieces that I think would be fun to submit. So that's kind of what this is about. This isn't like how to make the perfect dinosaur deck. This is just, here's what I had on hand. This is what I'm going to sub in. So the first thing I want to talk about is the cards that I'm taking out. I'm absolutely taking out. First set are these lands. That's way too much to draw a card, and it's conditional. This, I just don't like it. I think it's bad just to scry. I don't love the scrying. The Hideaway can be effective when you have a really big creature, but I still don't like that. This is technically 4 plus a mana card or land in order to make a creature unblockable. Don't love that either. Exotic Orchard, I'd rather have like a Reflecting Pool or something. And then the Thriving series of lands. I'd rather have man lands or just duels that come in tapped with that. So, like I said, here's the first 3 that I'll be subbing in, which are just man lands from the most recent series: Restless Bivouac, Restless Ridgeland, and Restless Prairie. So I'm going to bring those in. The other set of cards that I am subbing out: Drover of the Mighty. This is thematic and fits, but you're just going to be using him as a mana dork for 2. He does get +2/+2 if you have a dinosaur, but he's just a mana dork, and there are better ones, which I'll show you in a second. The next one I'm going to be subbing out is Generous Gift. Destroy target permanent, they get a 3/3. Technically this hits anything, but I'm going to be swapping it out for Stroke of Midnight. It's a non-land permanent, so it's a little bit more restrictive, but the creature's not as big, and I'm not as worried about the lands that my opponents have. There might be a Maze of Ith or something like that, but I just think this is this benefits them a little bit less. So I'm going to sub that out. Another mana dork, I just don't think he's very good. I do like the ability to bring back a dinosaur from the graveyard, but there's another creature that I'm going to add into the deck, which I think is better than this. The Intrepid Paleontologist, I think it is. So we're taking him out. Fiery Confluence, I think this is supposed to be, you know, for just generic removal. You can kind of have a sweep. You can do, you know, sweep of creatures or just 6 damage to an opponent, all opponents or artifacts. But I don't think it's as broad as I want it to be, and really doing 6 damage to your opponents or 3 to each creature just doesn't feel that great. So I'd rather have just like a generic Wrath if I'm going to include something like this. It's Quinth. It's a cute dinosaur, but I don't think he does enough. I like that he's from the new set, but I just don't think it does enough. Majestic Heliopterus. Same thing. You're paying 4 for flying 2/2. He doesn't trigger some of our card draw that we're going to be adding in, and again, I just don't think his ability is that good. Got to find cards to pull out. The 2 times that I had the opportunity to cast this, I wanted something else. You'd be surprised how often you might have a spell in your hand that is actually not 5 or less. It might be a couple of large dinosaurs. So we're swapping in some card draw. I'm probably taking this out. Thunderherd Migration is just a worse version of another green ramp spell that's in here. I forget what it's called. But this is just a worse version of that, even though it's on theme. Taking that out. Savage Stomp. There are only 6 enraged targets, I think, in the entire deck. This is technically removal, but we're going to use something that's just strictly better removal in white. So we're getting rid of that. And I did like the ability to draw a card, but this card in general just feels bad, even if you get it early on. I just didn't like it that much. So those are everything that we're taking out. The things that we're going to be bringing in, I already told you, we're doing man lands for the lands and some other duels. Stroke of Midnight for just permanent removal, as long as it's not a land. We're going to swap that for the Generous Gift. Swords to Plowshares is just creature targeted removal. I think this is strictly better than fighting between the dinosaurs, especially because the enraged targets are so few in this deck, and I don't plan on adding more. I am going to add in a demolition field. That way you keep one land when you sacrifice it. The opponent also gets one. But if there is something pesky, you know, you could use that. Now here's something I want to talk about really quick. Garruk's Uprising versus Up the Beanstalk. I've seen people sort of go back and forth on which one of these to include, and it depends on how you build your deck or expand it. But here's something to consider, is that right off the bat, if I do no other swaps in the deck and I decide to put one of these two things in order to give me that card draw, let's see, Beanstalk has 22 targets that will get you that card draw, and Garruk's Uprising only has 19. So depending on how you feel about that, this technically only costs one more. You get 3 less targets, but all your creatures are going to have trample, so that might be better for you. Beanstalk is cheaper, but hits more targets right out of the box. So I'm probably going to go with Beanstalk, especially with some of the spells that I'm going to be swapping in, since they are not creatures, and this is all spells. So those are some swap options. Another one I thought of was Brass Herald. Now, this is 6 for a 2/2. Basically, when he comes in, you name dinosaurs. Dinosaurs get +1/+1, and you get to dig for 4 from the top of your library and put dinosaurs into your hand. So that's kind of a pump and a like dig for cards, sort of card draw. I like this one. Probably bring that in. If this deck struggles with anything, it's going to be card draw, just because you're going to be churning out dinosaurs so fast and going through resources so quick. The thing I like about Commander is it's not always just, you know, you against one other person. I think doing something that benefits you and your opponent can be fun sometimes, just because that's what makes EDH special. So I like Secret Rendezvous so that you and someone else can get 3 cards. You know, you can do some politics or whatever. I think that's fun. Hunting Grounds. Whenever an opponent plays a spell, you may put a creature card from your hand into play, as long as you have Threshold, and you absolutely will be able to get that easily, especially in Commander. I think this is an amazing card. It's basically free dinosaurs whenever an opponent plays a spell, not even just once per turn, but you could potentially just like empty your hand if you had nothing but creatures. So, oh yeah, so I do have some Jurassic Park cards I was lucky enough to open. I have Welcome to Jurassic Park, so that obviously has to go in. I also opened Savage Order. I just think that's fun. You know, it's a green tutor, so we're gonna put that in too. And then Swooping Pteranodon is gonna go in. I think it's better than, there's another white creature in here that, is it this one? No. Maybe I already took it out. Basically, we're going to be swapping that in for this guy. I just think it's better. So, Swooping Pteranodon lets you steal a creature temporarily and then drop it, which is kind of fun. Let's see, so we talked about those. I like Polani's Hatcher just because it buffs your other dinosaurs with haste, which is pretty good, and has its own effect. Has 5 attack power, so that's great. That's great for, oh, and the CMC is 5, which is good for Up the Beanstalk. Intrepid Paleontologist. So this is one of the mana dorks that I was going to replace one of the early uncommon ones with. This is 2, so same cost, gives you mana of any color, no restrictions, and then basically allows you to play dinosaurs from your graveyard. So we're going to put that in. Hulking Raptor is another one that I opened, and the 2 things that this deck really wants is mana ramp and a way to draw cards so that you can keep putting out dinosaurs. This one has Ward, and at the beginning of your first main phase, he gives you 2 green, so that's definitely some good ramp. Put that in. Carnosaur is great because he's 7/6 for 6 with trample, but he allows you to do Discover 5, which is fantastic. I don't think I'd actually end up using the discard ability during an actual game, so the card itself is just really good, and he's another dinosaur. Probably another piece of removal. I don't think this deck has enough removal straight away. It relies on creatures just smashing your opponent's creatures and fighting. So we'll put Get Lost in there. Here's another interesting one. Eye of Ohertok, or Ogertok, however you want to say it. For 3, gives you a mana of any color, which is great. A little bit of ramp. But the really interesting ability is the craft. So you exile 2 cards, probably going to be dinosaurs from a graveyard, pay 6. And it allows you to cast basically a dinosaur every turn for free. So that might be one that's going in. The craft is a little expensive, but since you get a free spell every turn, a free creature, it might be worth it. And then let's see, aggravated assault. You're trying to win with creatures, so it makes sense. Say you have a good full board. This allows you to just pay 5, get a whole nother attack cycle. Definitely probably worth it. And then the last 3 that I want to talk about, I got an Aura Shards, which is good repeat removal. This deck has, I think, like 30 creatures or something. So this allows you to blow up an artifact or a enchantment every single time you put a creature into play. It's great. Skullspore Nexus, I think it's a fun thematic card, but it also allows you to pump one of your guys, double their power, and replaces anybody that might die with a dinosaur fungus. So that's super useful. And then I opened a Polyraptor, so I wanted to throw that in there too. It is Enrage, and this deck, at least the way I'm going to be building it, is not focused on Enrage. So like I said, there's only 6 targets in the whole deck, I think, that actually use the mechanic. This would end up being the 7th, assuming I didn't take the other ones out. But you still remember that even if you're not trying to ping it itself, you're still going to block or attack, and the damage done during the combat is going to give you another token if they don't remove this. So super good threat. And then I think that pretty much covers it. There's a ton of fun cards that you could put in, a ton of cards from the more recent sets like the Brothers War and old Ixalan that you could put in to just, you know, spice it up a little bit. Or if you wanted to take the deck in an Enrage direction, you know, you could do that by adding more targets. But this is kind of just what like I said, what I had on hand, and I think that's sometimes more fun. So I'm going to be adding these in, and I encourage you to do the same, that if you just have, you know, a box of rares and uncommons on hand, just go through and say, what would you like to put in? I think the hardest part is finding what to swap out. Most of these are lands, and I don't want to get rid of, you know, lands for sorceries, because you still need a ton of lands since you're ramping into large creatures. But I'll probably cut 1 or 2 lands, replace the rest with regular just tap duels and man lands. And then these other ones, like I said, I'm going to have to come up with a plan of how I'm going to put pretty much all of this and a few of these into the deck itself. So that's how I'm going to be crafting my VELOCI-RAMP-TOR deck. If you have thoughts, feel free to let me know, or recommendations or something that you like. But like I said, I think this deck is really good out of the box, and there's a lot of different directions you can take it, which is fun. Dinos are fun. So thanks for watching. We'll hopefully see you again soon. I need to make more Magic videos. I haven't done it in a while. Thanks for watching. See ya.